I had mentioned in my book, Who is Your Provider, about there are some Christians or professing believers that vote politicians in, knowing where they stand on the issues of abortion. And they just, if someone is pro choice, a lot of these Christians are going to vote for them. And you have to wonder how they can do such a thing. And it's not even that. But if you know where a politician is standing, you know, on their view of things, and you call yourself a follower of God and a follower of Jesus, then if the issue is about like abortion, then you're not going to want to vote somebody in there that has that stance because you know God is for life. He's not for death. He's not for killing innocent babies. And I cannot, for the life of me, understand how we have Christians out there that would vote somebody in for that. With President Obama or Joe Biden or something like that. When Obama went against John McCain, you know, I I wanted the whole thing for me that was the decision maker. And knowing No Name, or I should say John McCain, knowing where he stood then on the issue of abortion, he was like pro-life. But I think before it, he was like pro-choice. I think it was only a political thing. He didn't really, as far as I know, cared about any kind of children. Knowing where the deep state and cabal stand now, you know, and what he did with his treason, you know, I I voted for John McCain because he was pro-life. That's why I didn't vote for Obama. It wasn't because of his racial, where he came from, because Ben Carson could have, ran and I would have voted for him. If it was between, like Barack Obama and Dr. Ben Carson, I would have voted for Ben Carson because he was a believer, and he was pro-life. So, or if there could have been, like Dr. Ben Carson and Hillary Clinton, I would have voted for Dr. Ben Carson. So it is not a racial motivated stance. It is a stance on life and what is true. And with all that being said, you know, on Christians and their stance on abortion, you know that they are supposed to be standing for life because God is all about life and he's not about the shedding of innocent blood. So I'm not going to mention this person's name, but let me just say that he is a movie producer and he produced plays and stuff like that, and he's well to do. He's God took him from, the very bottom and brought him up. But this person's stance regarding politicians, to this day, I still, for the life of me, can't understand how we have Christians out there that would vote politicians in, knowing their stance on issues. And this professing believer stands on the side of Hillary Clinton. Posted up on his Facebook how he's at this thing speaking with Hillary Clinton and this other dude or whoever his name is, and really don't care. But I care about the fact of Hillary Clinton knowing where she stands on issues and what she has done in the past regarding the whole Benghazi thing, and anybody that comes against the Clintons ends up suiciding themselves. And just her issue with Seth Rich, all this, how people can't, research for themselves and find out the truth of things. No, they just take a blind step of faith and do it. So who knows if this actor slash movie producer, who is a professing Christian, was paid for this. And, it irritates me, because when I wrote Who Is Your Provider, it was around the time of when McCain and Obama were running against each other. And, of course, I stood for life. I stood for, with Sarah Palin because of her stance on the abortion issue. And as far as I knew, she was a professing believer. So I get these, fellow believers at the time who I knew their stance was, voting for Obama. I mean, they may have necessarily were against, abortion. But the thing is how can you vote somebody in there, that is for it and can stop it? Or at least have a stance against it, a voice for the children. But, these believers, they vote these politicians in, for whatever issues. It could be finances. And why would you want to put finances over life? I cannot understand that. And, these same people, they cast their votes for these politicians, and they go to church, they get up and they start dancing, if that your church is for that. They get up and dance and, worship God as if, there is no sorrow whatsoever about the decision that they have made. And it reminds me of that movie Unplanned, where this woman, she didn't have a clue. I mean, I guess she was for abortion, but she didn't know what happened to these unborn children and how that child that was in that womb was sucked up. It was cut up and then sucked up. And she saw that process happen, and it hurt her. And then she dealt with, just the remorse of all those women that she had allowed to come in there and abort their babies, and the stance that she took on it. And her remorse was, justified, because her hand was bloody. She was a part of it. But God forgave her. But it's the fact of just how deceived a lot of these Christians are. And this deception is from the enemy. You want to get out of this deception, you need to see the truth of what the Word of God says. If you're going against the Word of God and what it's saying, then you need to seriously get some deliverance or something. You need to see that you're deceived and ask God for forgiveness. Because so many children are getting murdered because of the stance of a lot of these politicians. And I believe, what's going on now is a lot of it is changing. Human trafficking is stopped, and I pray, really, I've heard that Hillary had her tribunal and that she was hanged. I'm hoping that's true, and that it's not hearsay, and that what we're seeing now is somebody with a mask or it's CGI. I'm hoping that the trafficking has stopped. All these earthquakes that we're hearing about are these deep underground military bases that are getting blown up. I'm hoping that it is really, truly happening. And that, a lot of these people, and seeing this actor slash movie producer site and how he was for Hillary and Joe Biden and, Oprah and Oprah's stance with this whole, she's part of the whole trafficking kind of thing. And she was part of the whole Rose McGowan, getting set up with Weinstein. But I'm really hoping all of it is going to be dealt with. But I wanted to create this video because I just cannot understand the stance on a lot of these Christians and how deceived willingly that they are. That you can obviously, I guess they can't see it because of their deception. It's like they have wool or a hand over their eyes. They're incapable of seeing the stance on these politicians. And I guess a lot of these Christians, they're so used to voting Democrat, regardless of their stance, that they don't give it a second thought. But I noticed on this actor slash, movie producer's Facebook that a lot of these Christians are stepping up knowing where he's standing on his plays and his movies. Seeing that he was endorsing Joe Biden. And I just don't get it. And a lot of people's eyes have opened from what I've seen on his Facebook, and a lot of them, I guess, are unfollowing and unfriending him. And that was like a year ago. And a lot of these Christians were like, oh, God bless you, such and such. Oh, you're so right. And of course, this actor is all for the jab, and it's just, it's remarkable. But I just wanted to share that with you. I just pray that with President Trump coming in, and him showing everyone exactly what they voted for, that people's eyes have opened this past year. The rise in gas prices, just how Biden is incapable of running this country. And we've seen the approval rate, and his is way below 50%. And Harris's is not even 20% from what I heard. And people, as far as I can see, cannot stand her. So I guess people's eyes have opened to what they voted for, and I pray that they've seen how deceived they were and they repented. But I don't know. And I can't understand how a lot of Christians can come against, President Trump like they did and voted for Joe Biden. It's that you can be so offended by President Trump's tweets that you would rather vote for somebody that kills babies, and it's just completely backward. So there's no other, the 4 years that President Trump was in and all the good that he's done, lowering the gas prices and all the other good stuff that he's done, and not even taking a paycheck for those 4 years, that you can totally dismiss that and vote somebody in there that would completely overdo anything. And right now, gas prices are at $3. And people could be like, well, that's because, Joe Biden, he lowered the gas prices by 25 cents. No, he went into the reserves that President Trump filled up when he was in office. Those were reserves for the military, and Joe Biden dipped into them. And that's why the gas prices lowered a little bit. So, I just wanted to share that with you. I just can't understand the stance on a lot of these Christians. But I'm praying that they wake up. And a lot of people, from what I heard, are waking up. They're seeing what they have voted for. And I pray their stance has changed. And I'm praying that President Trump, it's true that if it's true that he was inaugurated and that he'll be in soon. Because I pray that, our country cannot handle 3 more years of this guy. So, thank you for taking the time to watch.